She got labeled with a learning disability. Turns out that was her superpower. Welcome back to the TrailBLAZER pod. I'm your host Faye, and each week I bring you stories of Jewish women who are paving bold paths. This week's guest is Yael Morris, founder of Decode. She moved to Tel Aviv alone, learning to navigate the startup nation, unclear of her own direction. Now she runs Decode, a company that does what her brain has always done, ask the uncomfortable questions until the picture is clear. Let's dive in. Oh, and hit follow and subscribe. You don't want to miss what's coming. Yael, welcome to the TrailBLAZER pod. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. This is awesome. So great to be on the show, and we're really looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, I love, it was really funny when I messaged you, hey, you want to be on the podcast? And you're like, oh, this is why I love having a Jewish name, because there was no way for me to know you're Jewish from the research that I did besides for your name, you know? So I love having it.
100%. Whenever I connect with an Israeli, they think that I'm Israeli because maybe I look Israeli, but my name is just Yael.
Yeah.
And so it just makes it easy to get into that kind of conversation, build a connection.
Yeah, like takes the wall down immediately. It's really sweet.
100%.
So, in this podcast, we start from really early on so that I can have some context and listeners can have some context about who you are today. So, can you share what was life like for Yael as a little girl?
Amazing. I grew up in uptown Toronto with my parents and my twin sister. When I was 8, my younger sister was born. We played lots of sports, lots of music, competitive basketball. Both my parents were working professionals as doctors and dentists. We are very, very family oriented, had both my grandparents in the city.
So
we had Shabbat dinners every Friday. Usually we're playing basketball on the weekends or going up north to our cottage, Muskoka, Ontario, Northern Ontario, and friends.
So it's like mostly a girl family, right? You had a lot of
we're all girls.
Yeah.
All girls.
Oh, that's so sweet. I come from similar. I have a brother, but I have much more sisters, and both my parents have like 7, 8 sisters. So it's like so much girl energy. It's crazy. Yeah.
Oh my god. I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Okay, so you're saying, both your parents were either doctors or dentists in the medical field. Is that something that you saw growing up and you're like, hey, this is maybe what I want to do? Or because a lot of kids have that. They think, what their parents do is
No.
Okay. So talk to me about what you thought about doing for yourself.
I mean, it was really interesting because the role models in my life were in the medical and dental field. My mom had her own dental practice, which she sold a couple years ago, and my dad is an infectious diseases physician and professor. The sciences were not my thing in school. Okay. Math and science was not. It was definitely my twin sister's. She's now a periodontist.
Wow.
So she definitely went my mom's footsteps and beyond. But yeah, that was not my forte, and I think that for them, still sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? But I never really saw early on what I wanted to do. It was very hard to identify a clear path. And when I went into university, the program that had made sense to me in my mind was something called Integrated Business and Humanities, which from the way I understood it before I went to university was, it's going to combine understanding the humanities, which is people, and combining that with business. That makes sense because that is what business is.
Right.
Business
what was
is
it?
done with people. It was a little bit more, it was that, but it was a little bit more oriented towards social entrepreneurship and using business principles as a tool for social change, which was not necessarily what I wanted to do, although that was very interesting and there's a lot of ties and is interconnected with, what I'm doing now still.
Yeah, I always find it interesting when I talk to people who either didn't know what they wanted to do when they first started college or ended up doing or majoring in something that is very different from what they do today. But, most of them say, and including me, it's somehow they did learn skills that they now use in their life today. It's never really a waste. And I think, sometimes when you pivot or you do something completely different from your college degree, it feels almost like, why did I do that? But I think in hindsight, you can see it connects and it kind of propels you forward. So I think that's very interesting. You have shared though, and I love that on LinkedIn, I found you on LinkedIn. You kind of have a really nice balance between sharing about the business side of things, entrepreneurship side and founder side of things, but also personal and human and real. And that's why I think I messaged you, because I saw that really cool integration there. And so one of the things you have shared in a post, and this could be going really far back, so don't mind me stalking you,
This is definitely
was
going far back because I'm realizing I haven't posted a lot of personal stuff recently, but
yeah,
maybe I
I did
should
stalk
be.
you.
Okay, love
I
it.
mean, I love that. I think it just shows people as a 360 rather than, business is all you are.
Totally.
And. So you
Uh-huh.
talked about having a learning disability growing up and how that label really affected you. Can you talk to me how that shaped your self-perception in your early years and when that started to shift?
Yeah, I love that question. So let me give some context. I really struggled in school,
Hmm.
especially in courses like um, history and math and science as well, actually. And one day my history teacher, after, having studied a ton for this test, she pulled me aside and she's like, "Yeah, why is your mark 40%?" And she
Mm,
pulled me aside and she goes, "Let's go through these questions one by one." She goes, "Verbalize this to me. Tell me what
wow.
happened in these scenarios." And after going through like a list of 10 different questions, like I nailed them perfectly. And
Mm,
she's like, "There's something wrong here because what is written is not what you just said."
right.
So I ended up getting tested for this. And like I had like some sort of like IQ test. And that in and of itself was a dreadful process because the way that the people who did these assessments spoke to me made me feel like was absolute idiot.
Oh my gosh.
And I was so upset with my parents for like at the time I was like 12 years old. I was so upset with my parents for making me do this.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, my twin sister is like crushing everything. Her marks were super
Oh,
high. Um
that's
And
rough.
I think it brought a lot of fear to my mom, especially that because my parents, they viewed success, like the way they got to where they were was by like being successful in
Right.
academia.
Right.
That's how they determined success. That's what they
Mm.
looked at. Yeah. So, I mean, I have a lot to say about this topic,
Yeah.
obviously, but I think after I was like kind of had this assessment and the results came, I realized like there's definitely a deficit in the way
Mm,
that my brain processes information as it compares to the way that the school
mm,
system is is set up for students to learn. And my brain doesn't, you know, process information in the way that the school system is teaching our brains or
right.
like trying to forcing our brains to process information. When I got that label, I have a learning disability. That made me feel inferior
Mm-hmm.
and that I was set up for failure.
Mm.
It has had a massive impact on the way that I view myself today, like even today,
Wow.
because I'm always viewing myself as incapable. Whenever I do achieve something, I'm always shocked by it. I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh my god, this is a miracle. Like this is amazing." Like and I am now almost turning 27. Think like even up until this day, like I mean, I have now had many experiences to prove that like I am smart and I'm capable and I'm going to be
Yeah.
successful. But there is still this lingering effect of what that when I was 12 years old, what that did to me.
Wow.
And I think like my parents just like never really understood me because like they're both academic and medical
Yeah.
professionals. So, like, they're like, "Oh my god, I have a kid that's not, like, doing well in school."
Yeah.
Like, this is elementary school. The university, I was fine because it was, like, very much more, like, creative and you could do custom
Mm-hmm.
whatever, but they just, like, didn't know how to handle it.
Wow.
So, I don't know, I found that very difficult up until the day this day it affects me.
I love how you just said you had a deficit in the way the school was teaching and expecting you to succeed. And that's the problem with these things, is that it's so black and white and it has to
Totally.
fit a specific type of brain. But that differentiation is so important. And are you realizing this now in hindsight, or you understood that back then too?
No, I didn't understand it back then. It took me
Yeah.
time to kind of realize that the school system kind of puts you it's like it's for a specific type of learning. It's
Right.
for a specific type of brain.
Yeah.
And
Only.
it
Yeah.
only and it like my twin sister succeeded and thrived
Wow.
in that system, but there are many people who really struggle and they get, marginalized is like probably way too strong of a word, but kind of,
Mm,
shafted. I don't know. I
mhm.
like they just got they kind of get shafted by the school system because
Yeah.
they don't view that person as like capable, and they don't value the other elements of how people learn and the way their
Right.
brain works. And I mean,
Right.
I know tons of entrepreneurs who like drop out of school. They're like, this is just not for me.
Yeah.
Tons of people with ADHD and who are highly creative and successful, but just they realized early on that school is not for them. And I mean,
Yeah.
I kudos to those people because they did what's right for them.
Yeah. It's like just the success metric is just different. It's like they're checking a box of what success
Totally.
looks like. You did say though that you started to be able to see it as a unique advantage in your business today. And obviously the feelings of being inferior, they never go away, right? What we experience in childhood never fully goes away. You just have a different perspective as an adult. When you see it as a unique advantage, how do you view that?
Okay, so I don't know if it's now anymore, but although maybe it is. So what my business does is essentially asking questions that salespeople or marketing people or anybody inside a business is too afraid to ask or just incapable of asking their
Yeah.
customers and prospects. The way I got into this was I had a marketing agency during COVID, and we were trying to help our clients solve like marketing challenges. And the number one question that we asked our clients before we did anything was, okay, help us understand who your customers are. Like, why do they buy from you? Why do they think you're different? Why do they choose you over other companies? And our clients couldn't answer that basic question.
Oh my gosh.
And so I said to them, I was like, you know what? Like, we need to speak to those people because if we don't understand this, then we have a massive blind spot.
Right.
And anything that we do is not going to be helpful. So we spoke to those people, and I actually led those conversations. And the level of detail that I was able to capture and extract from those conversations, when we went back to our clients and said, okay, by the way, like we found all this out, they were like mind boggled. They're like, we did not know this. This is so specific and brings so much clarity.
Hmm.
And that is like now what I do today, but for like in a greater scale for like lost deals, churned customers.
Yeah.
We do these like one-to-one interviews, and the job is to probe and to listen and get clarity on what the heck they're saying. And those are very uncomfortable questions. How does this connect back to like my learning disability or whatever my needs, my
Yeah.
learning needs is I need to see the full picture, like with all the
Mm,
details. I need every little nuance cleared up in my mind so that I can understand the greater picture.
wow.
And has forced me to ask very specific questions. And the truth is, though, like now that I look at it, that is like a major advantage because most people are flying blind in their jobs and when they try to solve problems in their life. They're just kind of going through the motions and doing it. I feel like I need the specific, like the details, and I push back. I ask the uncomfortable questions. I probe. I'm like, what do you mean by that? Tell me it 3 times. Like
Mm,
yesterday, my boyfriend said something to me and I re engineered the question. He goes, oh my God, that was such a good question
mm,
because now I can actually answer and like tell you what I'm feeling and
wow.
thinking. And I was like, okay, well, you know what? This is my like I
It's
don't
your
know,
superpower.
I guess it's my superpower is
Yeah.
to ask those questions. So, but now I've actually trained people to do the same thing. Ask this question in a different way to make this,
Mm.
to get the and extract the information that you need. Because if you're not getting the information that you need, you're not going to understand. So what's the point of the conversation in the first place? Don't waste your time. So
Yeah.
I like have kind of become relentless with like asking questions that are uncomfortable, but necessary for me to have clarity.
How cool that this thing that made you different in school is now like like we're saying your superpower, and you found your niche, and where the way your brain works is now your business and the way you're succeeding. Like I think that's amazing. And I also think it's inspiring for people who are, let's say, a lot younger than we are, and at the place where, they're 15, 16, and they think that their learning disability is be all end all, and like if they're not succeeding in school, that's it for them. And to see how there's room for everybody and there's like ways
Totally.
to right? Like I think that's
Yeah.
really inspiring. I love how you explained how it applies today. I want to understand a little bit of like the timeline. I know you moved to Israel. Did this happen before you started this business or after, during? Like,
Oh,
what was the?
it's a bit of, so I moved to Israel 2 and a bit years ago, which is
Mm-hmm.
crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I kind of had like a bit of a weird transition period
Mm-hmm.
where I was working with some businesses from my marketing agency doing this kind of work,
Yeah.
but didn't have an official, like, I wasn't clear on what I was doing, what I was
Mm-hmm.
going to do. I started working with a company in Israel and then started connecting with more tech companies. And I told them like what I was focused on. Like it was these customer interviews, getting feedback. And my first ever client in Israel was Monday.com, which is like a big
Wow.
tech company
I
here. Yeah.
yeah.
And signing them for multiple five figures, I was like, okay, well, if Monday.com needs this, then like
Wow.
there is like some sort of gap in the market at like this
Yeah.
bigger scale. And then my second customer was Taboola,
Mm.
which is I guess, not as well known and has the same brand name as Money.com, but they're a top tier,
Yeah.
like tier one ad tech company, native advertising company. Yeah, I kind of just realized, well, I need to double down on this. Like,
Were you
I
a consultant at that point? Like that's how you were
yeah, I was kind of
operating,
like
or?
doing like some consulting on the side. I
Yeah.
was working with a tech company pretty much like full time in Israel here. And I realized like this is like that job was not like that was just kind of a way for me to get into the tech scene in Israel.
Yeah.
But really it was, networking and connecting with leaders in Tel Aviv and then, working with those companies. That was how I kind of started, and I rebranded to Decode. I wasn't always
Yeah.
Decode. It was like, I don't know, the name makes more sense for this
It's a
service.
cool, yeah, it's like decoding why your customers are churning and all the asking the
Exactly.
hard questions, exactly what you're saying.
Exactly.
What gave you the courage to actually decide to start Decode and kind of like fly on your own? Was it scary for you? Was it something you had to ponder on, or it was kind of like this just makes sense?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Um, I think there's like two things. One, I like really didn't know. Like I moved to Israel. This like job that I had was like I was not excited by it.
Hmm.
And I like was really not sure what was like next. Um I think I went through like a period of like quarter life crisis.
Yeah.
I was like, what the
Yeah.
heck am I doing with myself? I literally just
Yeah.
moved here in the middle of a war by myself,
Wow.
not knowing anybody, not speaking the language. I did a lot of like Hebrew learning as well,
Yeah.
but I like was very lost.
Yeah.
Like
I
very, very
I can
lost.
relate, and I'm sure a lot of people listening can relate to at some point in their life, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I mean, it was like there's a lot of unknowns. I'm like, I don't know the people here. I don't know this place. I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm doing with my career.
Yeah. Big
I
question
feel like
mark.
yeah, I'm like I feel
Yeah.
like I don't have like like really good skills. So, like I was applying to different jobs like very
Yeah.
sporadically without a game plan. I didn't
Hmm.
have a mentor. I didn't have like anything,
Yeah.
and my parents like literally didn't understand. They don't understand business. Like
Yeah.
they're like so I basically just said like I know what I know how to do and this is a passion of mine.
Hmm.
I've seen clients like generate millions of new revenue from this specific thing. This is an opportunity to work with tech companies in Israel. And I
Yeah.
did actually do a couple of therapy sessions with somebody who basically helped me like just like take that step. And like what's the worst thing that can possibly happen is like you try
Yeah.
and like go do it. And so I literally reached out to a few contacts that I was like networking with in Israel and I signed Monday. That was my first like
Wow.
deal. So I'm like, okay, you literally just have to start. And if you can
Yeah.
get that logo, that's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah. Well said. You know how they say overnight success takes 10 years, right? And it's almost like you explain that because in your mind you're like, you're going through this period of unknowns and question marks and you're dealing with like let's call it self-development. You're going to therapy and then you do it and it happens, right? But it's like you have to do all that internal work to get to that place. But from the outside, it's like, oh, you started and you got that client. And it's like, oh,
Right.
1 second. She had to do a lot of work on herself before
Yeah.
this happened. Do you feel like living in Israel gave you a different worldview of how, entrepreneurs work
Yeah.
or how to approach
Yeah.
business? Yeah. Can you share a little
Yes.
bit about that? Because it's such a
100%.
different, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was one of the pulls for me to move to Tel Aviv. So I come from Toronto, which is a very conservative type of city where the jobs that people have are like the economy there looks like professional services and like corporate.
Mm,
That's what I was surrounded by. All my friends were in corporate, trying to climb the corporate ladder.
yeah.
One of like hundreds and thousands. They're like one of thousands, just a number in these companies. Very like corporate. I'm like super anti-corporate. And then professional services, lawyers, accountants, doctors,
Yeah.
um, things like that. Like building a business is not like a thing that like people do in Toronto. It's not a thing,
Interesting.
especially out of university. It's not like in New York where you can like meet tons of entrepreneurs.
Mm,
People are very conservative. The level of risk tolerance is incredibly low for Canadians.
I did not
And
know that.
the government doesn't support that either in terms of how they,
Um,
you know, from the tax structuring and investment into startups, etc. Startup like it's from a statistics perspective, like Canada's just suffering brutally when it comes to
wow.
entrepreneurship. When I had been to Tel Aviv many times, I didn't move to Israel for like a Zionistic specific reason, although
Mm,
there was definitely pull in other ways. My name is Yael. I'm very proud of my Jewish identity. I love telling people about my name and my culture and my
yeah.
heritage, etc. But the biggest pull for me to move to Tel Aviv was like the entrepreneurial energy. Like this, it's a startup nation.
Yeah.
You speak to anybody here, they're like, "What do you do?" "Oh, I work in tech, and I do
Yeah.
this in technology." And it's the mindset is of founders in Israel and also just like the leaders that work in the companies here are very much about trialing and trying and risk taking and doing as opposed to contemplating and
Mm,
thinking and dwelling over something and strategy. They're very bullish on taking action. Like there are so many intelligent people in this city. It's absolutely incredible. Um and people are open-minded. They're like, "Oh, you have a startup. What's your startup? Oh, you have this. Oh, that's interesting. Like, let's talk about it." And people will want to get into a discussion about it with you over coffee, over a drink, over whatever it is. Um, when I was in Toronto, I never got that reaction. It was like, "Why are you building a business?"
mm.
Literally, that was the
Yeah.
reaction I got from people. Um,
Wow.
so I think there's just like it's like kol hakavod in Israel. It's like kol hakavod.
Yeah. It's like a
That's
badge of honor. Yeah.
it's like a badge of honor. Like, oh, what is your startup? Like, tell me about it. Like,
Right.
I want to learn more, as opposed to like, you know, people just don't understand it in Canada. I
Mm.
find just that mindset's just not there.
You explained it really well. And it's almost like that it propels the courage to like fail because if you fail, it's like, oh, but at least you tried and now you pick yourself up again. And it's like just being surrounded by those types of people makes all the
Totally.
difference, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You Decode, let's talk Decode. You've said that like why do companies hire Decode, right? It's because churned customers don't open up the same way to them as they would to a third party. So can you share more about the psychology behind that? Like why does that happen?
Yeah. It's like, really interesting. So I don't know. Have you ever been a buyer?
No.
Okay.
But I'm
So,
sure people
okay,
listening.
there's two pieces. So prospects. Okay. Let's talk about dating. Have you ever been on a date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Have you ever been on a date with someone who you were like, "Oh, this was like a really nice date, but this person's just like not for me." And
Yes.
do you ever like politely tell them it's not gonna work, but don't really give them a reason?
To be honest, I've been more of a ghoster than even saying that.
There you go. Okay.
Mm.
So you ghost. Why do you ghost?
Yeah. I was really uncomfortable with confrontation in any manner.
Okay. So you had just invested in that person, they have invested in you on a date
Hmm.
or two or three maybe, and then you realize like this is just not like I don't even want to see this person again. Like this doesn't make sense. So I'm just gonna ghost them. Like politely exit
Yeah.
the relationship.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens in a sales scenario, because they engaged with the business, they're interested in buying, and then something was missing, whether it's the product, the capabilities of the product, the value wasn't clear, the salesperson ticked them off, the pricing didn't seem to, reflect the value, something internally was blocking it, but you had just invested this time and you're not moving forward and you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings because, salesperson just invested in it. So you ghost.
Yeah.
Or you say, sorry, Faye, we just don't have the budget. Or sorry, Faye, the timing's just not right now.
Right.
It's polite exits to the relationship to make it easier and more comfortable. That happens in most cases. In other cases, for a salesperson that has built a really strong relationship and from the get-go, all cards have been on the table, they have an easier time in getting that feedback. But usually they're not hearing the truth about what's happening. The same thing happens with churned customers that leave. You have this, it may be because you have a bad account manager or because the product is bad. I don't know, there could be many different reasons, but the feedback from the customer never gets back to leadership. And no one knows why they're churning out 20% of their revenue.
Right.
So they kind of contract's done, we're not renewing, we're ghosting.
And then what happens when you guys come into the picture? How does that shift?
So a lot of the time, there's usually a scenario where these buyers still have a problem. They still actually have a pain that needs to be solved. Or these churned customers they still need a solution, but they're pissed off in some way. And so we go in and we say, hi, Faye, I'm actually a third party representing Monday. They've asked me to speak with you to get some feedback and listen to you and understand what missed the mark. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? And the framing is really intentional here. The framing is, I want to listen to you. Your feedback is really important. I'm not just a random person on the team that just wants to hear and get your survey response.
Right.
I want to listen to you. I really want to listen to you and get your feedback and understand what happened. And so what happens there is people are yeah, sure. What do you want to know? Sometimes people are the timing is not great or they don't respond. But most of the time people say, yeah, sure. Happy to answer your questions. And then they open up because from the beginning, that conversation is around, we want to listen to you and we have no stake in the deal. I'm not trying to sell you anything.
Right.
I'm a third party. I don't want your money. My job is to listen to you. The way we are evaluated on success as Decode is how much insight and how much clarity can we bring to your team about your buyers and your customers. What ends up happening, which is really interesting, is not only do our clients hear, what their customers are thinking and how they're making a buying decision, but in certain cases, and I'll give an example, in certain cases, these prospects come back into the pipeline. And when we finish the conversation, we say, Faye, what you just addressed seems like Monday can really, work with you through this and solve that gap. Would it make sense for Monday to reach out to you again? Would it be worth another conversation? And so that happens. Yesterday, I was speaking to a customer where they lost a $45,000 deal. My team spoke with that buyer to understand what happened. And we found out very specific insights into what was blocking it. This buyer still has a problem to be solved. Just the sales team on my client side pissed him off and didn't listen to him. So my client went back to re-engage with this customer or with this prospective customer, and they sold them a $65,000 deal, not just a $65,000 deal, because they addressed their concerns.
Wow.
and like showed value. But they literally would not have done that if they just kind of marked it as lost and just didn't hear the feedback.
Right. Wow, that's powerful. Having like had these conversations, is there one question that you think founders should be asking that they don't, or,
Yeah,
business owners?
100%. One of the most uncomfortable questions that goes unasked is, I'm not sure how I'd phrase it in the call, but it seems like there's some hesitation here. What is the concern for you? Where is there any concern about this for you that would prevent you
Mm,
from moving forward? And that's like one, it's like really, really, it opens the water gates. I think the other one is, if we were to go back, I mean, we asked this question as feedback, but if you're in a call and you're hearing the objection, don't objection handle. Like, I think there's this like whole narrative, like there's like this skill set in sales is objection handling, maybe. But the most important thing is getting the buyer to open up with you so you
mm.
understand how the heck they're thinking. So I think the hesitation question, the second question is, I was going to say something else, but I realized, like, what is most important for you in this, in reaching, in this engagement or reaching this specific goal or addressing this problem? What is most important to you?
Those are uncomfortable questions because you have this product or service that you want to offer, and if it doesn't fit that, it's like now you have to get defensive. It's this whole cycle, right?
Right, right.
So people rather like me. By the way, I worked on myself. I don't ghost anymore. I'm married, but I definitely used to struggle with
I love it.
that. So two things. One, it sounds like obviously you have to be really educated with what the product and the service is for you to be able to have
No,
these conversations. No?
no, no,
Okay. How
no.
does that work?
That's like the biggest, I think, misconception.
Cool. Okay, I'm glad I
Um,
said that.
because these are open-ended questions where you're probing.
Mm,
So it's about like there's a solution and there's a problem. The solution is on my client side. They're trying to sell the solution, and the problem is with the buyer. And you're trying to get context into the situation first. Okay, why did they go to this bit? Like, what sparked the conversation? Who are they? What's the use case, if any? Then you dive into their goals and desires. This is like, it's like therapy. I swear to God, it's like
right.
therapy. Do you need to know like the ins and outs of like a specific person's type of life in order to do proper therapy? No, you don't.
Right.
You need to know where to probe. And it's all around, I think, the dynamics of like how a deal comes about is like this buyer seller dynamic. Um and
Interesting.
what are they, how is the buyer, okay, the buyer, what are they hesitating on? What are your top, your why is that a concern for you?
Hmm.
So you'll tell me something and I'll be like, okay, why is that a concern for you? I'm not going to ask you, tell me about the specific formula. I'm not going to go into like the science of it. Just going to ask, tell me about the hesitations. Another example is like, okay, tell me how you're making a decision around this. What were your top priorities?
Interesting.
Your decision criteria, your top priorities and your decision criteria. And why are those priorities? Why? And so they're going to respond, and then you're going to ask, why is that so important to your business? Help me
Hmm.
understand why is this specific thing? Oh, it contributes to this specific metric, and this is how we look at success. Oh, okay. You're looking at these KPIs. This is how you're evaluating success. Maybe this business should start speaking in your language. Um,
Mm.
who is typically involved in this decision process? Um, which competitors, like which alternatives did you evaluate? How did this business stack up to those competitors and the alternatives? It's like it's not rocket science. You do not need to be super like, it's actually even better, to be honest, that you don't know about the business because then you're unbiased.
Interesting. Right, right.
Yeah.
By the way, I was just noticing you were talking, asking these questions, and you had a little glow in your eyes. You're like
Oh,
thinking about it. It's just cool to see, like the passion come through the screen. Just my last question on this: are you fully B2B at the moment? Is there a world where this can work in a D2C company or like an app or
yeah.
something like that?
Yeah. I mean, so we did work. I did one like early on. I worked with a business that was direct to consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, It was for an app, actually, and helped them get to 0 to 1 million in revenue
Wow.
very quickly because They were trying to find product market fit. They weren't sure
Right.
who was using their app, and just interviewing users
Yeah.
of the product really clarified and crystallized like their go-to-market and like their product strategy
Yeah.
and mainly their positioning. Yeah, I mean, the value of each customer for a B2B business
Right.
is very, very high and it's complex.
Right.
So each of these conversations is really important and meaningful to the sales organization and the marketing organization.
Right. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I asked because I'm in the D2C
I
space, so
know. I
I
know.
was
I
like,
want to hear more about this
yeah,
business.
we'll have to catch up and have a coffee. But today's about you.
Okay.
um,
We'll have to follow this one up after the
yes,
coffee.
exactly. So before we end, I want to ask you some founder questions because obviously I'm very passionate about female founders and women in business and all the things we bring to the table. How do you personally navigate the balance between ambition and being a business owner and making it work and self care?
That's a really good question.
It's a hard question.
I think they're intertwined directly, self-care.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, so I just completed a high rocks competition with my
Mm.
boyfriend. I've done a bunch of like half marathon races in the last
Mm.
year and like take my fitness like really seriously.
I love that.
If I do not get 8 hours of sleep, if I don't eat properly, if I don't get my butt to the gym and have a good workout, and if I'm not like aiming and reaching for like specific goals when it comes to like my health, more so like my fitness, then it's like negatively impacting the way that I
Right.
function
Mm.
as it doesn't even matter as a performer in any aspect. I don't know if I would say I'm religious about it, but I'm like, I mean, my friends would say I'm religious about it. I
Yeah.
mean, compared to like extreme
Compared, yeah.
athletes, I'm not religious, but yeah, no, I'm quite like religious about having discipline around
Yeah.
like health and fitness. And that comes with the way I eat, what I drink, how much I sleep, and physical fitness.
I relate to that. I think I for myself and let me know if you see it the same way. It's like I don't even have to balance it. It's like very integrated. It's one
Yeah.
thing. My friends always ask me like, "How do you have time for the gym?" I'm like, "It's not about how do you have time to breathe? Like you just make it happen if it's the thing that's going to propel you forward for, you know?" So that's how I
100%.
view it. Okay,
Totally.
makes sense. Okay, how do you know when to trust your intuition versus the data? Because in your line of work, it's really it sounds like you have both coming in at the same time, right? You have the data in front of you, but intuition is like a massive part of it.
Wow, it's like super hard.
I
That's
love
a
that.
good
I love that answer.
question. Listen, I think early on, you don't have the data. You don't have the data. You don't have the volume. You don't have enough reps. You don't have enough, just, you haven't been doing it, touch points,
Hmm.
etc., to like at least in like this line where I don't have like hundreds and hundreds of customers, I have tens, like I work with
Yeah.
tens of businesses. You don't really know until you have trialed and errored X many times. And to be honest, like I think for a lot of it, especially in the beginning, it's like brute force. It's literally just like you try and you figure out like what works and what doesn't. And which is like very scary because like you don't have your intuition or the data. You're literally just
Right.
like going. Your
Good
your
point.
decision making process is your intuition to just keep pounding the pavement. Um, but I think now, like where especially where I am in my business, from like a growth perspective, I'll just like put it there. Like there's enough data to basically say, okay, this direction is like working and like this direction is not,
Mm.
or this direction we need to like keep trying it until we have statistical significance and understanding like why it's working, why it's not. So I think that's like on that side. When it comes to like the data around our customers and like none of it is intuition. It is
Mm.
all completely using like buyer intelligence to help our customers make decisions. It's all based on fact. There is no guesswork there.
Mm.
Um, And I think that's part of, like, the beauty and, like, what I love about it is because, like, oh my god, this is, like, for the first time, there's so much uncertainty in a business, and this is the biggest, like, black hole.
Yeah.
It's like, how do your buyers make decisions, and why do you lose, and how do you win more? This is like, oh my god, it's like freaking clarity around
Wow.
this big question mark. So,
Yeah.
yeah, like, there's 2 different parts. One
Yeah.
side is, like, growing the business, the other side is, the
I love how you
customers.
answered that question. It's very, it's like it's not one size fits all. And I think for anyone, I think if you're looking at that question and it's even if it's personal, right? Somebody doesn't have a business and listening to that question, it's like in certain parts of your life it's this and in certain parts of your life it's that. And I like that you just didn't go, oh yeah, this is what it is. I appreciate that. My last question is, we started off this conversation, you talking about sharing about, your learning disability, and you actually had no clue what you wanted to do with your life. You had that again in your quarter life crisis, right? Today, sitting here with me today, what does success look like to you?
Oh, wow, that's, like, a really good question. I mean, there's, like, different versions of success
Mm-hmm.
that I've started to realize over time. I think one version of success is, like, you have a goal and you reach it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if you also challenge that statement, you can be successful even if you don't reach your goal.
Look at you
Um,
decoding our own
Decoding
thought.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I have a specific goal, and for this year, revenue wise, for
Yeah.
example. And if I don't reach it, I'm like super like putting so much pressure on myself. I'm like, oh my god, I need to reach this goal. And in my mind, I'm like, if I don't reach it, I'm a failure. But that's not true
Mm-hmm.
because doing your best and trying your best and making those 1% improvements every day and believing in yourself and doing valuable work and bringing that into the world, whether even if it's just for one business, that is still success.
Yeah.
But I think, but no, I mean, none of it is easy. There's not a single ounce of it is
Right.
easy. It's literally so effing hard. I think that's why it's so rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's also why so many people just quit really,
Right.
really quickly. Um, yeah, I think from like a business standpoint, like there's just 2 different descriptions. Like one is like literally just doing your best and like trying your best and being able to like go to bed at night and say, was I like
Right.
being the best version of myself? Even if it wasn't your best performance, was I going against the grain and being
Right.
disciplined and putting my foot where my mouth is and just, doing all the right things, even if they're not the right things, but just doing the things that you think are right?
Yeah.
Can you go to sleep at night feeling comfortable about that?
Yeah.
And then second piece is like a byproduct of it is like reaching your goal. Um,
Yeah.
I think that's like from a business standpoint, that's what I'm thinking right now.
That was a beautiful answer, and definitely something I think I have to work on, and all of us have to work on, is like, you obviously need those goals, you need those KPIs, you need those milestones. Like it's so necessary, and you need to shoot for
Totally.
the stars. But a lot of us tie our whole identity to those, like you're saying, if I don't reach it, I'm a failure. And it's also remembering the little wins every single day. There's so many throughout
100%.
the day that we just skip over and we don't celebrate.
Totally.
And then and that's why you feel like a failure, because you don't reach your goal and you never took the time to actually absorb the little wins over time. But it's a
100%.
really hard thing. So I think I'm with you on that. I'm working on that. Yael, thank you so much for coming on today. It was such a pleasure getting to know you and hearing
Wow,
your story.
I wanted I want to get to know you better after this
Oh,
conversation.
okay. That's honestly the best compliment, and I would love to. I'd love to stay in touch. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.